national team player Grania Somerville, who was very recently in Tokyo for the Olympic Games, of course, doing her country proud. And she now joins us in Denmark, albeit in a slightly different role. Grania, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, even if I can't be on court. It's great to be back around some world-class badminton again.
Are you missing being on court already?
Yes, I went down before and I was looking at the players training before this, and yeah, I was a little bit jealous, I'm not going to lie.
So obviously you've come off a fantastic time in Tokyo. To talk about your Tokyo experience, what was that like being at the Olympics?
Yeah, it was unreal. I mean, the fact that it went ahead was just amazing. I was just so happy to be there, and to be able to compete in the women's doubles and the mixed doubles, I felt really honoured to be able to get quite a few matches under my belt and yeah, just experience what a real Olympics is like. And yeah, it was my first one, so I loved it.
Well, talking about the Olympics, obviously we're going to see on court two ladies who were in Japan in the women's singles, and they're just walking onto court shortly. Starting with the world number 9 from China, that's Bing Jiao. She's making her walk slowly down to court 2. And that will be followed, of course, with the world number 11, Michelle Lee, who will be coming through in a very short while. And that, of course, Michelle Lee walking in right there. She is coming off a long break from badminton, Grania, I believe. She hasn't been in action. Obviously, she was in Olympics, but she was struggling a bit there with injuries and stuff. You know her quite well, I think.
Yes.
So tell us what she was going through.
Yeah, so I think she's had like some niggly injuries. I mean, every athlete does, but she's had quite a few, I think, throughout her career. So I think after the Olympics, she got PRP treatment in both her Achilles, which is a plasma treatment where they re-inject your own nutrient-dense plasma blood back into your, your injured site to help heal it quicker. So I think she's still coming back from that. So it'll be interesting to see where she's at. She wasn't at Sudirman Cup last week in Finland, so.
So now we're seeing
on my left. Thank you.
We're seeing the point toss, and Michelle, of course, choosing to serve there, Grania. And we will see how she does in this tournament, because Bing Jiao, of course, remember, played in the Sudirman Cup, albeit she had just one match under her belt. So, but that one match would make all the difference, given that she was at the Sudirman Cup, she was practicing with the team, and now she's back here at the Thomas and Uber, whereas Michelle has just joined her team, Canada, for this tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Bing Jiao, you're on your screens there. She's 24 years old, born in Jiangsu, China. She has reached the highest ranking of 6. She's currently world number 9. But she is a fantastic player, has been doing really well with Team China, the second choice. And most times, here, of course, in this match, she's the first choice, but often the second choice behind Chen Yufei, the Olympic gold medalist. And she is a left-hander, which is always an interesting perspective. She's got a 5-2 win-loss record in 2021. Michelle Lee, of course, on the other hand, 29 years old, ranked 11 in the world. She was born in Hong Kong, but now a Canadian resident living in Markham, Canada. Highest ranking 8th in the world. She's done really well for herself. Given that Canada does not have the same kind of support as China does.
Yeah.
And the umpire today, Jesper Hedam Larsen from Denmark. He's going to be umpiring the match, and the service judge, Kevin Bahn, is from USA. They're the officials for today's match and today's tie between the women's singles. So as we get ready to get going, Grania, do you think the tournament, being the first match of the tournament, the players would be feeling pre-tournament jitters as such, because it's a big tournament, it's your first match on court? What do you think the players would be feeling?
Yeah, I think they'll both be a little bit nervous. I think it helps that, it's not a super crowded arena and it's quite early in the morning here, so maybe less people watching. But yeah, especially in a teams tournament, having all the rest of the players from your country watching, you want to perform well and do your country proud.
And of course, not playing in front of fully packed arenas has become quite the norm these days. So
unfortunately, yes.
They're kind of used to it. Olympics, of course, there were no crowds at all, right?
Yeah, just teammates, really.
And now you have some crowd, which is always good to see. We'd love to get badminton back to full capacity.
Yes.
But, you know, we'll take it slowly as it comes. So Bing Jiao versus Michelle Lee is a one-sided head-to-head. It's 5-0 to Bing Jiao. They've played 5 times previously. And although it's a one-sided statistic, you know that when these two players get on court, you're promised a very exciting battle.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the 3 last meets went to 3 sets, so I think Michelle Lee definitely has challenged her and has it in her to beat her, but we'll see how she is, especially coming back off, you know, some recent time out with her injury.
Well, the ladies are about to get ready
Ladies
to play.
and gentlemen, on my right, China, represented by Bing Jiao. And on my left, Canada, represented by Michelle Lee. Canada to serve. Level. Play.
And that's just out. We were talking about the shuttle earlier, Radhe. We saw Chi training, warming up. And you mentioned that the shuttle was moving slower in this court, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they always get a player usually to do a shuttle test before the matches kick off for the day, and they have two or three speeds sometimes, and they seem to be slow, landing a bit short of the mark on the court where they are meant to land in the back line. So we'll see if it is actually quite slow in this match and how it might affect the game style.
Bing Jiao, a fantastic start already, 2-0 up. And Michelle Lee, I guess, is just sort of getting a feel of the arena, getting a feel of the court. You know, the movement of the shuttle. It takes about a day or 2 for players to really understand how the drift works and get used to conditions.
Yeah, exactly.
Service over. 1-3. Change.
So she is obviously carrying the flag for Canada and her team. She'll be the team captain, leading her team. She's the experienced one. And you know, this Canadian team is a mix of young and old because it's slightly different from the 2018 team that played. We've seen Rachel Chan and Crystal Lai, who were playing in the Sudirman Cup as well, have now joined the Uber Cup team. So is that going to be a factor, you think, coming into this tournament?
I think having like a predominantly quite young team will just be more of kind of a development opportunity, I guess, for the whole team. Like Michelle will be, you know, leading the way, showing them how to approach their matches and I guess guiding them a bit through, you know, handling opponents at this kind of level, which they probably haven't experienced that much of. So, yeah, I mean, I think in this they're the underdogs, so it'll be more of a kind of development opportunity, especially for the young ones.
They did get a chance at the Sudirman Cup, of course, to try out, test out, playing the bigger teams, figuring out the emotions and, you know, how they would feel. But the underdog status, of course, always helps when you're playing teams like China and you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You take it as it comes.
Nice shot there from Michelle Lee, just touching the net with that snap.
And that is...
The players really are just trying to find their range at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, there's some unusual errors on from both ends. I guess they're getting a feel of the shuttle as well. Michelle Lee and Bing Jiao, as I mentioned, played 5 times before. The last meeting was way back in 2019 at the Korea Open. They played in the semi-final. And Bing Jiao won that in straight games, of course. But, you know, a lot has happened since 2019.
Yes.
A lot of changes in not just venues and people on the court, but also, you know, the breaks that you have had to have in between tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah. A lot has happened with not much happening as well, unfortunately.
Well said, yeah, exactly. And, you know, that affects maybe, you know, people in the sense that you might be the favorite in a tournament? Like here you would say Bing Jiao is the favorite to win, but when you've had like an unsettled schedule as you have in the last 2 years, do you think that that sort of difference comes down a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's really been a roller coaster as a player to kind of gauge your level because of the lack of international competition. Like you might feel really good in training and then, you know, your focus isn't there in the matches, or the intensity that you need for the match is different. So it's been, yeah, really hard to kind of keep some stability in that. I mean, even same with Momoda, who was like dominating throughout 2019 and then like didn't perform that well at the Olympics, and now he's a little bit all over the place. So yeah, really affected the players, I think.
She was going for the cross-court smash there.
Yeah, Bing Jiao's been quite aggressive from the back here, and it seems like Michelle Lee's trying to still lift her to the back, but doesn't seem to be finding the lines or the depth, really.
Seven, eight.
Bing Jiao loves to attack and then run forward. So I think Michelle's trying to mix it up in her defence, not only blocking, but also trying to keep her to the back a little bit so she can't sprint forward that much.
Just out. That was a good sort of tactic to try and get it on the line, and you know, but it was just out.
9-7.
Michelle's just missing the lines a little bit. If I was her, I think just try and, you know, hit a little bit safer on those lines to find that range, and then try and, you know, bring it out close to the lines.
I think if you go, you know, as the points increase and you go maybe 3, 4, you start climbing, the difference gets bigger. It also starts playing a little bit on your head that you need to close the gap and, you know, make more errors in your game as a result. Because when you're playing, you know, the higher ranked opponents or in tight matches, you've got to keep it as close as possible, right? You've got to keep the gap as small as possible.
Yeah, the scoreline pressure can be a huge mental game for players.
11-7.
So here at the mid-interval break, it's 11-7 to Bing Jiao. She has opened up a 4-point lead, and we'll be happy so far with her performance.
Court 2, 20 seconds. Court 2, 20 seconds.
The players get ready to get back into this first game. I've always been curious, Gonya. I mean, when we have these intervals and the coaches are talking to them, how much is it about actual, you know, strategies, and how much is it about just boosting confidence, players' confidence?
I think it really depends on the player, and I guess the relationship with the coach, in that, you know, what you like to hear from your coach at those intervals. I would say predominantly it's tactical, but in certain games, you know, you might be playing the right tactics and that kind of thing, and you're just not executing, and you need that confidence boost and just kind of reassurance. But at this stage, it's probably maybe a mixture of both. I mean, they're just still easing into it, so could need that confidence boost as well as a little bit of tactical advice.
That was a nice net game from both players there.
Yes.
8-12.
I guess when you also play each other often enough, you know each other's game so well. The tactics become less of a thing, and it's all about the mind and the confidence level of the player, right?
Yeah, and just trying to like bring your own game as well.
Service over.
It's a 5-point gap now for Bing Jiao. She's slowly but surely taking control of this match.
Michelle with some nice deception there on the return.
Service over.
And then a beautiful drop shot.
9-13.
The other thing is, you know, the first game, because it almost feels like it's a must win for the players, because that advantage when you win the first game versus doing a fight back, you know, coming back from a game down, it just changes a player's mood and perspective even while they're on court, right?
Yeah, for sure. The first game's really confidence boosting, especially, you know, your first match on court as well.
And in a team tournament, first game, then you get the first match, and you know it's a rolling effect, because you know you always want to be the one in the advantage in a team tournament. Try and get those wins as quickly as possible, seal the tie. That's always the aim of the game. She just got the line there.
Yeah, that really kind of looked like the shuttle slowed down to stay in there. Bing Jiao's being super aggressive in the back.
Lovely backhand. Oh, that was beautiful.
16.
I think after 11, Michelle's doing better, increasing her speed and, I guess, change of pace around the court. Just some of the execution is still not coming together right at the moment. So,
do you feel her movement any different? I mean, we were talking about her recovery and her injuries. Having looked at her now for the last 10 minutes, do you think her movement's any different from the past?
I mean, it's hard to tell, but to me, she looks totally normal. Like, if I hadn't have known that, I don't think I would have suspected anything. But you never know. Like with a player, it can just be in your head. You're pushing off that little bit, kind of more carefully, less explosive. It all can come into play.
At the Olympics, Bing Jiao doing really well as well, of course, getting through the semi-finals and then just missing out on that bronze medal. That must have given her a lot of confidence in her ability. We talked to her at the Sudirman Cup, and she was saying that she feels better about her levels, her fitness. She's looking much fitter as well.
I heard she lost 10 kilos leading up to the Olympics.
Yeah.
I heard the coaches made like a kind of ultimatum that she had to get fit or she wouldn't go.
So I think she was warming up yesterday, she was practicing yesterday at the practice halls next door. And after the practice session, her coach took her to the gym to continue training. So she's clearly on a strict regime in terms of fitness and keeping her fitness levels. But she says that she's feeling good about herself, which is, for any player, for any athlete, the most important thing. When you have belief and confidence in yourself and your ability. She wears a bracelet that says "believe" as well,
right?
Among other words. But
19-12.
Just for these last 3 points, it kind of does look like Michelle's movement is a bit off. She didn't look herself just then.
When you say she didn't look at herself, what do you mean? I mean, what about her movement do you see is possibly affecting it?
4 points ago, I think she didn't go for the cross net that Bing Jiao played. She kind of didn't bother going for it. So I think, she mustn't have felt comfortable pushing off explosively for that change of direction. And then one of the other points after it, Bing Jiao hit in the net, she kind of walked, I would say, like a little bit awkwardly,
and that's out. So, game to Bing Jiao of China, 21-12. It was a solid performance from the Chinese player. She's the world number 9, and she has gotten off to the start that she would want, trying to give herself and her team the advantage right from the get-go. Michelle Lee, on the other hand, has some work to do, but she's done it before. She has taken to Bing Jiao to 3 games before.
I would say the way Michelle Lee's walking, doesn't look that comfortable.
She's struggling a bit.
I get that feeling.
With of course COVID and the lack of tournaments, sometimes even when you're not fully fit, you just want to get on court and play, and get your match fitness back. And those decisions don't always work for you, but nothing's more important for an athlete than to be participating, right?
Yeah. But it's definitely really frustrating when you can't participate to your maximum and when something is holding you back. But especially in a team's tournament, you feel that obligation to really give it your best. But there's also that fine balance between taking care of your body and doing what's best for your health as well.
She's smiling. through.
Yeah, I reckon
I think
she's going to
she's.
call it.
Oh, Michelle Lee is gonna close the match. Unfortunately, she's not feeling great. Her movement is affected.
She might be asking for treatment alternatively, but I think,
Because you can come in, you have a look at it, and you're ready. And
Yeah,
then you can
I think-
decide if you want. It's fine by me.
I think the umpire's suggesting she gets the physio, and I think she knows that it won't make much of a
Okay.
difference.
Done. Okay.
Yeah. She just
Okay.
said, "Are you done?" And she
Bing
said,
Jiao.
"Yeah."
She's retiring.
She
Okay.
is retiring.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
Poor Michelle Lee.
I wonder if they,
Match won by
if she
China.
really had confidence kind of going into it after whatever training she had leading up to this, that she could make it and something went wrong, or they weren't that sure and this was the test.
Well, unfortunately, it did not work out. We were hoping to get a tight match, but fitness and looking after yourself comes first, and that's the most important thing. So, Michelle Lee, we wish her all the best and hope she recovers quickly from her injuries. Bing Jiao, on the other hand, will be happy to keep it short.
I'm sure she'll go out the back right now and get smashed by her coaches.
She gets some training sessions
Yes.
in now. She didn't, and keep her energy and practice levels up in the warm-up courts and the practice halls. But so, Bing Jiao wins that first match. Of course, she's won that in that first game, and now Michelle Lee has retired.
Yeah, and with the treatment that she did have on Achilles, the platelet-rich plasma therapy, it's really important to get the rest that you need, because the whole point of it is that you're promoting your own healing system to improve the musculoskeletal problems that you're having. So if you start to push it too soon, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the healing process. So something you really need to be careful of.
And confirmation of the score right there, that Bing Jiao won the first game 21-12 before Michelle Lee retired from that match, struggling with her movement there. She was limping off the court a little bit and will be seeking treatment, I'm sure, immediately.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because I think she's probably entered in the next tournaments, Denmark Open, French Open, and maybe even German Open. So to see if she will be ready for those, if she'll push through or need to come up with an alternative option. I would say most players' focuses for the moment are probably the World Championships at the end of the year in Spain, and also World Tour finals in Bali, Indonesia. But there's pretty much 5 other big tournaments before that, so it's really hard to prioritise which ones to play. I know a lot of players are missing out on the German Open, so straight after this goes Denmark Open, French Open, German Open, 1 week break, and then Indonesian, 2 tournaments in Indonesia, and then the World Tour finals, finishing with the World Championships in Spain in December.
All right. So what's coming up next on court 2 is the women's doubles. Lee Wen-mei and Zheng Yu taking on Rachel Hondrick and Kristen Tai of Canada, and that's coming up on court 2 in just a bit. So keep it here. That's the Sudirman Arena right in the middle of Aarhus, and it was built in 2001, and we're coming live to you from this arena, the indoor arena. Right next to it, as you can see, is the football stadium where the Aarhus team plays and calls at home. We are just seeing the first women's singles finish. Bing Jiao defeating Michelle Lee, though Michelle Lee retired. Coming up next, of course, is the women's